Hello, in today's video, we will learn about the eternal feud between Palestine and Israel. As you know, the extremely tense conflict between the two countries of Palestine and Israel is being reported everywhere in the media. However, surely many of you do not know why they are in conflict with each other. So let's analyze a little bit of the history between these two countries with High analyzed together. To understand the origin of the conflict, let's go back thousands of years ago in the Palestinian region, including present-day Israel, where there were communities of people living. By the 15th century BC, the Egyptian kingdom flourished and influenced the present-day Palestinian region. Many people were influenced by Egyptian culture and formed what people called the Jews. By the 11th century BC, the Jewish state, the Kingdom of Israel, was first established. They existed for about 400 years before being attacked and destroyed by the Babylonian army. The Jews were not strong enough to resist and had to leave their homeland and wander everywhere. However, even when they were wandering, the Jews were still hated and expelled, even massacred. There were persecutions of Jews during the Black Death, the massacre of Jews in Spain, the Cossack massacre in Ukraine, the massacre of Jews in the Russian Empire, the Dreyfus Affair in France, and the Holocaust in Europe led by Hitler. In general, wherever the Jews went, they were not safe, which made Jewish communities around the world unite and communicate closely with each other, and also made the Jews want to return home to build their own country so that no one would come to chase them away. Let's go back to the area of Palestine. After the Jews were expelled and the empires took turns occupying it, and the people were mostly Arabs. Until the British Empire dominated this land, both the Palestinian territory and Israel were now called the Mandate of Palestine. In the early 1840s, the British Empire was interested in this land, but there was a problem. France at that time had a reasonable influence on the Middle East with the role of protecting the Catholic community. Russia also had a great influence in the role of protecting Eastern Orthodoxy. As for Britain, there was no reasonable reason. They used the excuse of restoring the Jews to intervene in the Middle East. With this reason, Britain continuously encouraged Jews from all over to migrate to Palestine. So did the Jews follow Britain's wishes or not? Because in fact, the Jews did not really want to return to Palestine. In the meetings, the Jewish Leadership Council on the restoration of the country, they intended to establish a new state in Uganda. In addition, there was another option in Argentina or in some other lands. As for the idea of returning to Palestine, many people opposed it. However, due to the actual situation, Palestine was still the final choice. Around 1950, the number of Jews in Palestine was only about 24,000, but under the call of the British and the threat of massacres in Europe, the Jews created terrible waves of immigration. With 5 major migrations, the number of Jews in Palestine increased rapidly to nearly 500,000 people. The problem here is when the Jews came to the land of Palestine and how the local people reacted. Well, the answer is that the Arabs did not like this at all. First, most peoples in the world hate Jews, and the Arabs were no exception. Second, when the Jews came to Palestine, they, along with the British, killed 5,032 Arabs and injured 14,760. Up to 10% of the adult Arab men in Palestine were injured, killed, imprisoned, or exiled. So the Arabs not only disliked but also hated the Jews, but they still lived together until after World War II. After World War II ended, Britain returned freedom to the Palestine Mandate. But the way to return it was still not agreed on because who would own the country, the Jews or the Arabs? To help Britain, the United Nations proposed a plan to divide Palestine into 2 countries, one for the Jews named Israel, one for the Arabs, and an independent city of Jerusalem under international management. The Jews strongly supported this approach because after 1,500 years of exile, they could return to their home. But the Arabs did not want that. They believed that before the Jews arrived, this land was theirs. In order to destroy the country of Israel when it was not yet recognized by the world, the allied army of 8 countries, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Yemen, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and Sudan, came with the intention of destroying Israel. However, by some miraculous way, not only did Israel not lose, but the other 8 countries also had to sign a treaty to recognize it. Moreover, Israel not only kept the land that the United Nations divided, but they also occupied most of the Arab land and occupied half of the city of Jerusalem. Since then, Israel and Palestine share the same fate but never reconcile. Conflicts continue to erupt not only between Israel and Palestine but also with most Arabs in the region, leading to the 1967 war, the Arab War under the leadership of the Egyptian president and the participation of many countries. However, within just 6 days, Israel defeated Jordan and occupied the West Bank, defeated Egypt and occupied the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula, defeated Syria and occupied the Golan Heights and occupied Jerusalem and turned Jerusalem into its capital. Thus, after each war, the Arab side seems to give more land to the Jews. Up to now, many efforts by the United States and the United Nations to ease the conflict between Palestine and Israel have been basically unsuccessful. Every now and then, Palestine shoots down planes or kills some Jewish soldiers. In return, Israel fires missiles at its neighbor. So you understand why Palestine and Israel have such a deep and long-standing hatred. Hope they will find common ground in the future. Thank you for watching the channel. Goodbye and see you again.